All right, let's talk Soundwave. Here's a look at my meager and humble Soundwave collection, an eclectic collection of different Soundwave figures over the years across different toy lines. And personally, my all-time favorite Decepticon is Soundwave. More than Starscream, more than Megatron, more than Shockwave, or the Seekers. I just love this character, and we're going to talk about why, I guess I'm not the only one, why a lot of collectors find Soundwave very interesting and making him one of their favorite, if not all-time favorite, Decepticon. Now, Soundwave back in the 80s looked like this, and he was a portable cassette tape recorder player. If you have no idea what a cassette tape player recorder is or what a cassette is, you are incredibly young, and I envy you so much, because this was an 80s device up to the early 90s where you could listen to some music and record voices and all that, and they would be recorded on an analog data holder or a strip of magnetic tape in a plastic case called a cassette, and you would fit it onto a cassette player, and there would be a head that would read that magnetic tape. And this is a miniaturized, scaled version of that, but you can always Google it if you have no idea what I'm talking about. If you do, and you love cassette tapes, then you grew up in the 80s just like me as a kid. And the main gimmick of the toy was on his chest, you would pop it open and out would pop the cassettes that would transform into different minions. Two would become robots, some would become birds or condors. One would become a jaguar like this one. And that was, I thought, pretty interesting. That was, I think, what a lot of the kids back in the 80s loved about Soundwave. The toy had just so many playability, modes, because he would be like 5 robots in one. And I thought that was pretty cool. And everybody would get stored in his chest in the cartoon. And yeah, it was an amazing character, an amazing toy. Now, over the years, he's evolved, and these are the Generations versions, which is the more modern, updated look. And as you can see, most of the designs and aesthetic of the original 80s Generation 1 Soundwave is still present in these more modern figures. I have Sound Blaster here instead of the Siege Soundwave because it's already sold him off, so he's a placeholder for that. Sound Blaster was also the repainted, the darker version of Soundwave, because, you know, they had to make money off of the mold. They repaint it to a different color, and presto, he's a new character or whatever. So the same thing happened here with Hasbro, having to redesign the old Generations Siege Soundwave. If you remember, in Dark of the Moon, we had a very different iteration of Soundwave, and he looked something like this. Arguably, the movie verse had to do some changes with the design of the character, but I think they went too far with Soundwave. This guy turned into a luxury car. He had laser beak, but all the aesthetics of the cassette recorder were gone. He looked completely different. If you ask me, I think this should have been Shockwave, because he felt more like a bruiser, more like a henchman, beastman, instead of who Soundwave really was. He was the quiet left-hand man or left-hand person of Megatron. He just stood in the background and he just did whatever he was told, and he was in charge of communication, disruption, everything to do with psychological warfare and all that. And here he was just basically one of the bruisers of Megatron. He just tortured Autobots, and I didn't really feel so much connection with this Bayverse Soundwave. And I know the fandom has been torn and split with this Soundwave, because over the years, if he didn't turn into a cassette player or a communications device, he turned into a truck. This time he's a luxury vehicle, which really goes against the nature of who this guy is. He should be in the background. stealth, sleuth, not overly flashy and all that. And I think in Revenge of the Fallen, as a satellite, I think this is the more apt Soundwave. But even this version of Soundwave didn't really strike me as the Soundwave we all knew. And my sort of disdain on that Bayverse Soundwave shows in my collection. I picked up a couple of those figures, but decided, you know, that wasn't really my Soundwave, so I had to let them go. Plus the fact that I was really purging my Studio Series line, so no Bayverse Soundwave here. But I do have the Nightverse Soundwave right there in the back with Ravis just popping out of his chest. And as you can see, the aesthetic is a lot closer to the G1 Soundwave, and as such, that will be my live action Movieverse Soundwave for now. I love that figure. I've gotten rid of a lot of Movieverse figures, but I've actually kept this one because it's just so Soundwave. Now, one of the Soundwave figures I really regret selling off was my Robots in Disguise Warrior class Soundwave. I mean, this guy was so cool. He was a mix of Transformers Animated, Bayverse, Transformers Prime, all in one. He was still a communications guy. You can see the tendrils, which was a callback to his Transformers Prime look. And at the same time, he has the off-road transformation into a vehicle that was very akin to what he had in Animated. And I really regret just selling off this figure. I mean, you can see how awesome this figure was. He wasn't perfect. He kind of felt cheap at times, but I had to get rid of the Robots in Disguise as a set, and I couldn't leave anything out. So yeah, it sucks. But any one of you know of any leads on where to get this Soundwave? I mean, not too expensive. My budget is like, what, 20 bucks, 20, 25 bucks. That's as far as I go to get repurchasing him. But if you know of any leads, please let me know in the comments. Or if you're willing to part with an extra copy of this Soundwave, the Warrior class Soundwave, do let me know and hook me up, man. I will gladly take it off your hands and pay for shipping and all of that, but let me know. And of course, Transformers Animated Soundwave is no longer in my collection. I had to get rid of my Animated line as a set. Oh, one of the regrets. I wish I hadn't gotten rid of it. This wasn't a good figure, but it wasn't a super great figure. It was an okay figure for me, so I had to let it go. Not too much regret selling off this figure, but if I can get it again and add it to my Soundwave collection, I would. But I probably wouldn't spend more than 10 bucks for this figure. Now, one of the things I wanted to talk about Soundwave, why a lot of fans like him, a lot of collectors love him, other than the fact that he's a super cool robot, cassette tape robot, is he has one particular character trait that is a hallmark of who he is, and at times it brings about his demise, and that is his loyalty to Megatron and the Decepticon cause. The only other Decepticon that rivals his loyalty is probably Tarn, but Soundwave is just Megatron's most loyal servant, and he will go down with Megatron. If you saw the 1986 cartoon movie, I mean, Megatron was on the verge of dying from his fight with Optimus Prime. It's who is the guy who picks him up, carries him off away in retreat from the battle? It's Soundwave. I mean, Soundwave is just absolute loyalty, and I think that's a great trait that you normally don't find in Decepticons, in the bad guys. Just that extreme loyalty to your master, or to your leader, I should say. That's very admirable. And in this day and age, it's very difficult to find someone who's actually loyal. A lot of times, you know, I hate to say it, but sometimes there are friends who are not really friends, who will drop you like a hot plate and just move on when they no longer have use for you. And it's sad that that's the reality that we face now in life, and we just have to live with it. But in the Decepticon world, if you had somebody like Soundwave, he was your ride or die Decepticon. He wouldn't leave you, and that, I think, is the most admirable trait that he has. Other than the fact that he's super cool at his psionic warfare, psychological warfare, communications, and disrupting the communications of the Autobots. And he had this super cool voice of like a monotonous computer. Ravage, laser beak, eject, operation, disruption. I mean, he just, oh, it was just an amazing, amazing character. And oh, before I forget, I talked about divergence from the original concept. This Transformers Prime was sort of a divergence of the original concept, but he still had a lot of the aesthetic. Laserbeak still came out of his chest. He didn't have that cassette tape aesthetic, but a lot of fans loved this character because he still reflected the character traits and, a certain extent, the design of the original Soundwave. He stood in the background. He was a quiet type, but he was like Snake Eyes, and he could beat you up. And again, he was in charge of communications, and again, he was very, very loyal to Megatron and the Decepticon cause. And as such, even though he's a sort of a big departure from the original boxy design, fans still loved this version of Soundwave, including me. I mean, personally, one of my favorite versions of Soundwave, more than the Siege or War for Cybertron Trilogy Soundwave or Bayverse Soundwave, is this Soundwave, because he was just such a badass. There's nothing to dislike about this character. The fact that he's a bad guy. So yeah, Soundwave is one of those characters that is so iconic. I mean, I don't think I know of any Transformers collector who has not had one Soundwave figure in his or her collection, because you cannot have a Transformers collection without at least one Soundwave. A loyal, devoted servant to Megatron and the Decepticon cause, and one of the coolest characters, Transformers, and toys and action figures that Hasbro and Takara Tomy have ever come up with. I just absolutely love this character. So with that, I wanted to hear from you guys. What do you guys think of Soundwave? Is he also one of your favorite, or if not your favorite, Decepticon of all time, just like me? Let me know in the comments. Do you hate this character? If you're not a big fan of Soundwave, you don't like the character, you don't like the figures, I'd like to hear from you why you have so much dislike for this character. Let me know in the comments as well. If you're just an all-out fan of Transformers, particularly Soundwave, let me know what you like about Soundwave. What's your favorite aspect about Soundwave? Hit me up in the comment section, and as always, hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. Oh, one last thing, if you're wondering, am I going to get any more Soundwave figures? I am looking to get that 3-pack from Takara Tomy. I think this guy needs replacing, because as you can see right there, the thighs, this bit right here is already yellowing. Shame on you, Hasbro, but I am really looking forward to that set. I don't know if the price is right, if it's not too overly expensive, I might just go ahead and pull the trigger. Okay, so that's it for this discussion. I do have a couple of announcements if you still want to stay around and, you know, watch the rest of the video. But as far as talking about Soundwave, why everybody loves this guy, the video is over. So until then, I'm gonna catch you guys, and thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. Now, if you've stayed on to finish this video, thank you so much. I do appreciate you sticking around, and like I said, loyalty, very, very hard to find. And I want to say a big thanks to everybody who's stuck around, and you know, all these years since the FX Trans days. I mean, I say this a lot, but I really, really, really do mean it, and it means so much to me. It means the world to me that you guys have hung around. And lately I haven't done any reviews, and for obvious reasons, there's not a lot of Transformers releases for this month, and Hasbro's waiting for 2024 to dump all the new stuff. Hopefully we get a few stuff come in by the end of the year. If there are a few figures that hit Manila in the Philippines, I'll make sure to do a review of them. But I've really taken some of the advice that you guys have been giving me, and just to really streamline the collection and just pick out the ones I want to review. I don't have to review everything. Right now, I've been thinking that, is it 100%? Do I like the figure 100%? I'm already thinking, am I going to sell it? So if the answer is yes, if I'm going to end up selling it because it's not, I feel it's not going to be 100%, I kind of just hold off from pulling the trigger on that particular figure and just gonna wait for it to go on clearance. So just this month, I've taken a step back and just really assessing which figures to pick up, and just saving money for the figures that I really want. Not just Transformers, but G.I. Joe and Star Wars, maybe even Marvel. I haven't done a lot of Marvel because I'm trying to stay away from Marvel Legends now. Yeah, but I'm focusing on Transformers, some Star Wars, and some GI Joes. So I do apologize if you haven't seen a lot of content lately on reviews, particularly Transformers reviews. I do apologize. They're gonna come back hopefully in 2024. Everyone's dealing with their own crap these days. I'm dealing with a few things, so yeah, it's been hard for some of us, but I want to thank everybody for those of you who've really been encouraging me to hang in there. It really helps. Sometimes you get so much hate on YouTube, and sometimes it takes a toll on you. And on top of the fact that you're dealing with a lot of things in your own life, people don't realize it. Everyone's dealing with their own particular crap. So I do appreciate those of you who send your kind words and really help me to kind of just hang in there, and thank you so much. And just going back to the theme of loyalty and friendship, I think having a review of Soundwave is pretty apt for these trying times. So thank you so much. Hopefully in 2024 I will be back. One of the videos I've been planning to do before this year ends is my annual top 20 or top 10, maybe depending on how much figures I still have left, my top favorite figures for the year. Do stay tuned for that. I hope I can still do that. I mean, if I haven't purged my entire collection, you can be sure I'll be doing that kind of video, hopefully before the year ends. So again, thank you so much for sticking around and just putting up with my videos. I do appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And do stay tuned, and I promise I'm gonna be back locked with other reviews and all that. Just stay tuned, and I have a lot of stuff coming in, especially in 2024. Thank you so much, and until the next video, I'll see you guys later.